Welcome, everyone, to Courageous Creative Conquerors. This is Jean Voice Dart. It's my belief that everyone has a gift of creative expression. We were born to express ourselves to stay healthy and happy. Whether you are planting a garden, writing a story, building a cabinet, sewing a scarf, or singing a song, what matters is expressing from the heart. And the creative and expressive arts are a healthy coping strategy that shifts us from trauma to triumph. So join me as we listen and learn key tips and techniques from our special guest and courageous creative conqueror. Our special guest today is Christine Robinson, fine artist, writer, and musician. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jean Voice Dart, and I'm here with my good friend, Christine Robinson. And I'm just delighted to be here with you with Courageous Creative Conquerors. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Jean. I'm excited to be here.
It's so fun to see your face after all these years of just being good friends on Facebook. I feel we have always had this kinship because of the expressive arts.
It's wonderful.
Well, thank you. And so I just love for you to start sharing about your childhood growing up. Can you tell us, were you always creative as a child? And were there any people in your life that believed in you, in your creative talent, or encouraged you to be expressive and creative?
Absolutely. My family is very artistic, which can be intimidating as well. But as a child, that's not a problem because children just sing and do art and don't really care what it looks like. My mother's an artist, but my mom was a single parent starting in 1959. Yeah. And so she didn't have time to do art, which is just a shame because she's a brilliant, brilliant artist. In fact, her art teacher said of 30 or 40 years of teaching, she's the best he had ever had. Mm. But my grandparents were also creative. My grandmothers taught me, how to knit, how to crochet, how to bake, how to sew. Well, my mom taught me how to sew. I would sit for hours with my grandmothers if they were, if we had the time, and I learned to make braided rugs, anything that interested. I learned how to do tatting. Nobody does tatting anymore. And so I did all kinds of things, fabric and with art materials and singing. Singing was hugely important to me. I started in choir in the 3rd grade and never stopped, and ended up going to vocal contest, even though it scared me so bad to sing in front of people that I would almost pass out, and I'd still come home with gold medals. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
The first time I sang at contest, when I got done with the song, I thought I'm either going to throw up or pass out.
Yes, me too.
Girlfriends ran up
to me. I'd be in the bathroom before and afterwards.
Before I fell on the floor.
But during, you go into the zone.
Oh my God.
And people say, wow, but you're sick before and afterwards.
Yeah, the only thing they scored me down on was stage presence. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And I got a silver medal anyway.
Oh.
How?
Yay. Well, you got something. You got that spark.
I got to tour Europe with a choir when I was 18. We went to 8 countries in 3 weeks. That was awesome. And we got to see those gorgeous cathedrals and the art in Europe. And it was just unbelievable. My family also took us, to museums and to the Chicago Art Institute. And so I learned so much, there in the summer. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We have that in common too. Chicago and Illinois. Yeah. Well, listen, you mentioned something that I think resonates with a lot of people listening, or some of the people listening. You said you were raised by a single parent. And are you telling me that your father died when you were young, or your
No.
parents separated, or what happened there?
My father was injured pretty severely when he was 15 years old playing football, and he was never going to walk again. And some doctors came to my grandparents and said they wanted to do an experimental surgery, and there was a 50% chance that he would walk again. And they said, well, that's better than 100% chance that he won't. And he had the very first joint replacement surgery in the history of mankind.
Oh,
They
oh
literally
my
built
goodness.
a hip out of a 12-inch long steel rod that went into the thigh bone and a ball joint. It took him 2 years before he could walk again. Unfortunately, then he was an only child. His parents and my great aunt spoiled him. And he was a playboy and a party boy. And he was a lot of fun, but he was not a good father. And so they separated when I was 6 months old, for which I am grateful. I loved my dad, but I got to go and play with him and then go back home and not have to live with him. And that is a good thing. It was we had a great relationship, but living with him would have been terrible. Eventually he became an alcoholic.
Yeah.
His father was an alcoholic, but quit drinking. And my grandfather and dad said he would never do that, but he did. Yeah. And so he was very creative. He was a great artist as well.
Oh.
And he wrote books, and we would sing together, especially sailing on Lake Michigan. You know, I'd sit back in the cockpit with him and we would sing sea shanties and have a lot of fun together. And then I'd get to go home, which was great. In the early 1960s, nobody was divorced. And so, you know, here's my mom, 25 years old, young and pretty. We played with the other kids and we had really good neighbors, and we lived in a small town. It was a wonderful place to grow up. I really enjoyed growing up there. And the neighbors would watch us after school because mom had to work. She worked at a bank, but she couldn't make enough money to take care of us. Women could not be an officer of the bank. She approached her boss, who she loved, and she loved her job, and said, I need to make more money. Can you give me a promotion? He said, I can't. And she said, why not? He said, because you're a woman.
Oh my
Literally
goodness.
told her, because this is the early 60s, you know? And so talk about creative and courageous.
Courageous.
She went into outside sales. No women did that. Her boss didn't want her there, but his boss made him hire her. He gave her a territory that nobody was ever successful in. She's got the really outgoing personality, and of course didn't like her mini skirts. And so eventually the guy got her fired, as was kind of typical back then. So she got another job in outside sales, and ultimately she went into real estate. She won awards. It was
so I am not surprised that you are so strong and you persevere and you don't give up with your art and with everything. I'm not surprised.
We had to be independent at a very young age.
So when did you start really blossoming with art?
Well, I've always been frustrated at not being able to do the type of art I wanted to do. So I tried for 52 years to do art and just never could do anything that I was ever happy with, until something happened that changed my life.
What happened?
I was working with friends for their business. We worked like human beings should never, ever, ever work. It was one of the most inspirational, wonderful things, was contract work, very creative, every day, all day long. But we did, with about 5 people, the work of about 50 people. We did 2 New York Times best-selling books that were published by McGraw-Hill. Start concept to print ready. Each book was 6 months. That's nuts. It usually takes 2 years. It was crazy. And what happened is that several of us developed autoimmune problems.
Mm.
Mine manifested as pain. I called it my pain of the month club. Never knew where it was going to show up or how long it was going to last. It was horrible. Luckily, I have really good sources, doctors who are all natural. I've studied natural healing for over 30 years. I literally was to the point where I sat on my couch one day and was like talking to spirit saying, if this is what the rest of my life looks like, I don't want to live.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I had to quit working.
Mm.
I would have like panic attacks at the thought of working again. I felt like I had PTSD actually. But as I started feeling better, thank God, I was sitting on my couch one day and I was like, okay, spirit, I need to do something to take the pressure off my husband. He's having to carry the whole load because I can't work.
Yeah.
So what can I do to make money that doesn't require physical strength? Because I just don't have it anymore. And literally the next day, my mom called me, my brilliant artist mother. She called me and she asked if I would take a beginner pastel class with her. And I was like, Mom, why would you want to take a beginner class? You're brilliant. She was a portrait artist, no less. And she said, it's been so long since I've painted. I don't know if I could still do it. So I literally took the class to try to get her painting again. So the very first thing I did was part of an online thing called Woman Unleashed. And I thought, that's what I need to do. I need to unleash myself. So is it there it is.
Okay.
I mean, I could have done something like this when I was 10. It's really bad. But you know what? It was a start.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to let go of it has to be good.
Look at
So
you.
I
Unleashed.
broke the collar. I got rid of the leashes. I love Rumi. Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. I love that. I absolutely love that.
I love it too. It's good to stare at it and just feel that unleashing.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt really good.
Well, applause to you for taking that step.
I love this. Limitations are an illusion. So how do I break free from the illusion? Wherever you are, whatever you do, be in love. Then I started doing mixed media, which was really, really fun. It's got, you can see under here, there's like washi tape. And over here, there's, these are, I cut out of a magazine, so I didn't have to do the art. I just did the stuff around it. There's a word down here. Oh, laughter. Laughter's a good thing. I needed more laughter in my life at that point in time.
Oh, okay.
And of course, the theme, here you are, the caterpillar, you go into the chrysalis and you come out as a beautiful butterfly. And this was as I was starting to feel better. Everybody else was doing hummingbirds.
You're a little bit more powerful there.
I don't even know where I got the idea for the phoenix, but I used scrapbook paper. This is all scrapbook paper, and down here in the tail. And then all of a sudden, two words came to me. Up here on this wing, it says fierce, and this one says courageous. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting and weird. You can even see little flames burning off the old coming out. And then two more words came to me, which are down in here, and that is humility and compassion.
That's a courageous creative conqueror right there.
Yeah, that's kind of the definition, isn't it? Right there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Then was when I started the class with my mom. This was my very first pastel painting. And these are the fields over here at the Biltmore Estate by where I live.
So was this something that you were there looking at this view, or
no? This was from photographs.
It's from a photograph. Okay.
This was the second class, and this was to learn how to paint round, how to paint something 3D. I loved the colors. It's a Honeycrisp, I'm sure, because they're beautiful. But once I learned how to paint round, I challenged myself to do homework. They didn't ask us to. I challenged myself to do homework, and I did this.
Mm.
And I couldn't believe that I did this.
Mm.
And when I got up in the morning and I walked over to the table where it was, I cried.
Mm.
And I felt silly standing there crying. But I never expected this to come. I told you, for 52 years, I tried to do this and couldn't. It was because I asked Spirit, what can I do? And I was given this gift.
I
And
remember watching you sharing on Facebook when you first started, and
Yep.
then this, in a very short time, sharing these paintings, and everyone was just jaw-dropping. Wow, look at her. And I think it was more just that you were fearless. You were sharing the process. You were sharing every little drawing, everything leading up to this. And it's so inspirational.
But I was only fearless because I let myself have the time to play.
Yes.
And not be critical of myself. And it was so liberating.
Mm-hmm.
And I quit worrying about comparing it to my family, who are such good artists. You know, comparisons are killers. Don't do it. Just do your own thing. Then we went to the third week, which was to do contrasting colors underneath. And this one blew my mind. It ended up 3D. It's the first painting I sold. I wasn't trying to sell it. I just showed the picture to a friend and she said, how much? I was like, what?
Oh, wow. That's a
And,
huge step.
oh my gosh. I was like, I don't know how much. I don't
That's
sell.
a huge step. You are a painter.
I've been painting for 3 weeks.
Yes.
So, and somebody wants to buy I was totally in shock.
Oh,
But then I did this when I had only been painting for like 5 weeks.
Mm.
And this one intimidated me.
The colors.
I have a very good
fabulous
friend on Facebook who photographs dancers, and I asked permission to use his photograph to do the painting. And as I was doing it, I thought, this is terrible. It doesn't look right. This doesn't look like fabric. I was all in my head. And then I heard a voice in my head that wasn't mine say, it's just shape and color, just shape and color. And I thought, I can do shape and color. So I'd look at a shape and I'd look at the color and I would put it on there. And then I got up to go to get a drink. And when I came back and I saw the painting, after not looking at it for a few minutes and from a distance, I was like, oh my God, it's a dress. And then I found out 6 months later that that's what Monet used to say. It's just shape and color. You just paint shape and color. So I guess I was channeling Monet.
So how did it feel to all of a sudden be able to do this?
It was amazing, incredible, and completely and totally intimidating. And I stopped painting for an entire year because I didn't think I could do anything better than what I had already done. So I quit painting, put my creative forces towards other things. But you know, when you get the itch, when you got that creative itch, it won't leave you alone. So I went back to the pastels. I did this. This was the horse down the road. Her name is Belle. I learned that later. I just started painting things that I just inspired me, playing with colors, learning more about color. Then COVID hit. Everybody was terrified. Everybody was depressed. Everybody was living with anxiety, myself included. I had to have beauty in my life. So when I was at the grocery store, I bought these gorgeous roses. Yes. And while they sat on the table, I knew I had to paint them. I don't paint loose and impressionistic. I've actually been working on trying to learn to be looser. So many artists have that challenge, but I really loved the way it turned out. And by the time I was done with this, it was just what I needed. The anxiety was gone.
So you said by the time it was finished, it was just what you needed. So can you explain, just with our listeners, why is painting or the expressive arts important to you with your healing? And
It's my breath. Without it, I don't think I could live, to be really honest with you.
what do you get out of it?
The Bible says that we're created in the image of God. And to me, that's the creative force. We
Yes, I
have that
agree,
same creative force.
100%. Yeah.
And so, it's just such a gift to be able to tap into that. And it lifts you out of the morass of the social consciousness and into a higher state, and it just makes you feel good.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I walk out with a painting like this. My husband's in the other room, and I say, "What do you think?" And he's like, "You did that?"
Yeah. Can you share with us what happened recently and your journey with your husband?
I lost my husband in November. We were married 38 and we were together 38 and a half years.
Let's take a moment now to look at some photo memories of you and your wonderful husband, Ken.
I started seeing him when I was 24 years old. He passed November 22nd. We found out in May that he had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say the last 6 months of our marriage was just so precious, because once you're in a position like this, all the walls are down, all the stuff is gone. You know what the true priorities are. And the last 6 months of his life was one of the most precious times we've had together. For the first time, he became open to hear about my spiritual path and my experiences that he'd never wanted to hear about. His heart was wide open. My heart was wide open.
Beautiful way to exit out of this physical world. Yeah, to have that special time with him before.
Literally, he called me to his side. He was cognizant until his last breath, which is very unusual. He called me to his side. We were looking into each other's eyes, and then he looked over my shoulder, and his eyes got really big, and he breathed his last and was gone. And I was given that gift, which was hard. It was very hard, but it was really a gift for me to keep him at home and to be there with him right up, and to have him be there with me right up until the last breath.
So what happened in terms of you and your art during those last 6 months?
Everything had to be put on hold.
And so how are you doing right now?
I'm doing fantastic. Oh boy, this isn't something I planned on talking about.
Because we were going to have this interview then, and then that happened. Yeah.
I had, during a contemplation, during a spiritual exercise, about a week later, I had an experience with him. I don't know how much of this you want to hear or share. The exercise was that I was standing on the shore with the spiritual guide, the teacher that I work with. But it wasn't an ocean of water, it was an ocean of light. And the waves are rolling in, the tide's coming in, and these waves get bigger and they just wash over you, these waves of light, and it just illuminates every part of your being. And then the spiritual guide or master turns to you and holds his hand out to you. And I put my hand in his, and we walked into this ocean of light. And I'm thinking, my brain kicks in like, oh, this is going to rearrange a few molecules. Being in the light of God. And the water was this beautiful golden yellow. and like with light on it, like you'd have from a setting sun, and the even the sky was this gorgeous golden glowing color. And I'm standing there and I'm holding the teacher's hand, and I look over at him as we're immersed, like, up to our waist or almost up to our chest. And he's got this huge Cheshire cat grin on his face. And I was like, what is that about? And I looked back out over the ocean, and Ken walked out of the light and took me into his arms and just held me. And he was the Ken I married. He was young, he was beautiful, he was gorgeous. He was, just so radiant with divine love. And he just held me. And really, for the first time since he passed, I cried like a baby. I cried, but this was tears of joy, just ecstasy. And I had wanted to tell him some things. We talked a lot, there wasn't really anything left to talk out, but I just, when I finally collected myself a little bit, I looked up at him and I said, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and everything that you did for me. He would support any crazy scheme I came up with.
Oh my goodness.
My rock of Gibraltar. And I love you, and I will love you forever. And then he started talking to me, but I was so overwhelmed that I don't remember what he said. And then he said, you're doing fine. And I was like, what? He said, you're doing fine. I said, oh my God, I am.
Yeah.
Doing fine. And so when we ended the embrace, the experience was over, and I was just, oh my God, I was just overwhelmed with ecstasy. And the beautiful thing about this experience is that it's like, oh my God, he's doing so much better than I am. How can I grieve? And it stopped the grief process. I don't feel the need to grieve for him or for myself.
Oh, that's lovely.
And now when I think of him, the picture that I have is him walking out of the light of God, not the emaciated, sick man in the bed.
Yes.
I was taking care of. It's just, this is the greatest gift, perhaps, of my life that I could have ever been given. And then on Christmas morning, I was walking past the table. I'd been decluttering. That's my coping mechanism, is declutter. And there was this little basket that had these papers in it that I hadn't seen in decades. And I pulled a piece of paper out, and it was his business card from the 1980s. And I was like, why do I have this? And I went to throw it away, and the little voice in my head said, you might want to look at the back. Like, oh, I knew what it was immediately. He used to leave me little notes on my car that I would find if it came out. And so I turned it over and it said, I love you.
Oh.
I was like, well, there's my Christmas present from Ken. Thank you. So I'm doing so well.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
One of the things, let's see, I can pull this. Oh, look, it went right back where it was supposed to be. So I started doing feng shui acrylic art because I find there's a lot of power in these symbols. So of course, the first one I started with was love. And they challenged us to do a masterpiece, meaning a piece of a master painting.
I recognize that. Yeah.
Vermeer. And I love the girl with the pearl earring. And I thought, who the heck do I think I am to even attempt a Vermeer? And then I did it. And imagine my surprise and thrill when I actually was able to do this painting. This is the painting to me that said, you have arrived. You are an artist. You can call yourself an artist now. This is
oh my gosh, I remember this one. Wow.
This is not a good photograph of this painting. This is the one I won the award with. This is the marketplace in Cairo that's been there since the 1200s. And I painted it like a Rembrandt. It's called chiaroscuro. It's very dark on both sides and very light in the middle. But the camera likes to balance light and dark. So
Applause to you.
it's been such an awesome journey, and
There's that phoenix rising right there. That's great.
still rising. And the one that I'm working on now is a work in progress. I don't usually show a work in progress. He's over my shoulder back here.
Yes.
My dad had a statue of the Gloucester fisherman statue always on one of his shelves, bookshelves or mantle or something. And I went online and found and just Googled stern of a boat to see what the boat should look like, because there was nothing for this painting except for the fisherman and the wheel, or the mariner and the wheel. So I built this. It's not obviously not done, but I built this out of parts from all different sources that I pulled from. And that's another tip. Man, oh man, if you want to learn to do art or anything creative, go to YouTube. You can get an art education online now that's actually in some ways better than a 4-year degree in art.
Yes, it's amazing the time that we live in. We can go online and get the instruction we need and inspiration we need.
This painting, I don't know if you can see it in this light.
Oh, I love it.
I used a toothbrush and a straw
Oh,
to do the whole painting.
oh, I love
So
it.
that was kind of fun.
That's beautiful. I love it.
And I'm trying to get looser. This is from a workshop that I just took. So
Ooh,
a little bit looser, a little bit more impressionistic. Sorry for the plastic cup.
ooh, it's yummy.
This is from the same workshop.
Ooh, that's so pretty. I mean, I'm like a sponge. I just soak in all the art. I love it.
I did a wonderful duck that's back behind him, but I can't get it off the wall. It's a white duck and there's no white in the painting at all.
Oh, wow.
There's no light on it because of this. Let's see if I do this.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Now this is the fun part.
Asking.
This is the fun part. Oh, wow. I love it. I wish we could zoom in.
That was part of an educational display at the Hickory Museum of Art when we had a show there. I showed beginning to end. I wish I had the picture that I could show you up a little bit closer. I had them here, but I've been trying to clean up, and when I clean up, then
And there's a drum back there. What's that all about?
I have instruments, and since Ken's passed, I bought myself a violin. I'm learning to play the violin.
You didn't talk about the violin. Are you self-teaching?
Actually, when I went on YouTube, here we go again, YouTube. When I went on YouTube to make sure the proper way to string it and tune it, and I found a series of classes that are the Suzuki method, which I've known about for years. They have Suzuki for piano. This lady did a series of 30 days of Suzuki for violin.
Oh.
So I can now play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
You can.
But I'm also teaching myself to play Memories from Cats.
Oh, wow. That's quite a shift from Twinkle Twinkle to Memories.
Because I bought them on auction from shopgoodwill.com. They were so cheap, I bought 2.
You bought 2?
I bought 2.
What are you going to do with that?
Well, the one I thought
friends come over, you can say, here.
Well, the one I thought was missing parts. So the other one was so cheap, I thought, geez, even with, what I'm paying for it plus the shipping, it'll give me all the parts I need, and then I'll have 2 violins, and then I can decide which one I like the best. So I'll figure out which one sings to me. And then
I think you'll end up keeping both of them.
Yeah. I've considered that, but no, I don't know. I'm kind of at a cleaning out stage right now. It's just, it's been such an incredible journey. I'm just so grateful for all the gifts that I've been given and that are still coming to me every day.
Well, this has been such a joy, and you touched on so many different things with your very interesting and colorful life journey,
Has
and
been.
grieving and
Oh,
your autoimmune disease and all your different challenges, self-esteem, breaking through all that, and giving us tips, practical tips for those who are artists and creatives, no matter what area you are creative in. I think everyone can benefit from this interview. So thank you so much, Christine.
and if there's one other thing that I would say, find a group of like-minded people
Mhm.
that do what you do, and spend time with them. There's no better resource than the people who love the same thing you love. But the support and the people that I've learned from just in my artist circles has just been invaluable.
Yeah, I agree. And
Supportive.
I love my Courageous Creative Conquerors group, and just having the opportunity to meet other people who are creative
Mhm.
and overcoming challenges.
It's just a wonderful experience.
Well,
I was really a little nervous about doing this, but you're so much fun.
I know. I have fun. I really enjoy it.
And you're good at what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Christine. We're going to stop, and thank you for listening and showing up today. It's been a joy having you here.
I'm sorry I
Thank
talked.
you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.